Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. A report by the International Council on Mining and Metals has found that mines are proven engines of economic development for host countries. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer tells us more. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Shannon.
Please provide an overview of the report that the ICMM has recently produced.
Now, this International Council on Mining and Metals, it's almost becoming a sort of a global chamber of chamber of mines, like we used to have the chamber of mines in the various countries. This is almost becoming like a global mining guideline provider. And, you know, a third of the membership is made up of companies that are listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. So, you know, there's a big South African element there. You know, beginning, as they put the names down in alphabetical order, with African Rainbow Minerals, which is headed by our Patrice Motsepe, but then going on to Anglo-American, Glencore, Goldfields, Anglo Gold Ashanti, you know, all the big names around here. So there's a big South African influence there. And this is a 214 country study. So it's a unique study. You know, no one has ever done a study of this scope. And one of the big things that came out of it is that it's wonderful for countries to receive the foreign direct investment and then the export earnings. A lot of the governments sort of fixate on taxation and mining royalties. But a thing that's really good for your country is massive foreign direct investment. And, you know, they're putting it into the ground virtually because your mine can't be moved. So they're putting up infrastructure there, and the spin-off in the export earnings is incredible, because once you're getting that foreign exchange now, you've got the foreign direct investment, now you're getting the foreign exchange, you can start growing in areas outside of mining. So they're emphasizing that great importance. And the sort of 214 countries there, when they came to the end of that, they realized that this is a proven vehicle, you know, for actually becoming an engine of developmental growth. So you can develop with a mine. You can create spin-off development, which is huge for any country. And so I think that the emphasis on that is important at this time. It's also coming against the background of something interesting that happened at the mining Indaba, you know, when that investment superstar, Jim O'Neill, because I mean he had something like $800 billion, I think, at his disposal when he was head of Goldman Sachs asset management. You know, he's saying that countries should look for good models. They should say, well, who's really doing well with their resources? So you've got a resource-rich country, and which is doing the best? Now, he said he found that Norway is doing the best. Now, this is very interesting, because I can remember the National Union of Mine Workers president, so you've got a union set up saying, no, Norway is the best. So now you've got the arch-capitalist and the arch-unionist saying, hey, Norway is a good one. Surely that's a meeting of the minds, you know, where you could actually look at that. Obviously, it's a different country. It's hydrocarbon rich. It's done incredibly well with the resources riches. And, you know, I think it's going to be difficult. It's a hard act to follow. But still, people in the world are now saying, you know, look for good models, because mining can do a lot for your economy.
Now, a mine based on, by its very nature, is a finite thing. How can a mining country and a mine itself be sustainable into the future?
And, you know, that is a huge point, because although the mines are these engines of growth and engines of development, they're not going to last forever. So you've got to sort of try and make the best of them, because they are catalysts for ongoing economic development in other areas. And we have the example here in Johannesburg. You know, gold actually set us off here. The gold was so rich, the ore bodies were so big, it was with Watersrand, that we still have that momentum, you know, from the late 1800s. We're still feeling it because of the way it impacted on this region and the whole of, you know, well, Southern Africa, really. So it became an engine of growth for a massive region. And that's how important, you know, your metals and minerals can be. We're sitting on an example here. So it's not only while the mine is actually operating, but it's even after the operation is closed. If you do things well, and that's what the ICMM is really trying to do now. They want to make sure that, you know, when you go in on a new operation in a country in Africa, all heads get put together early. And one of the messages of Tony Blair, the former UK Prime Minister, was, look, don't skimp on paying advisors in those early periods. Get the best global advice. And he's talking to governments, and then implement that advice, because those advisors, provided of course those advisors are making sure that there's a spin-off, a good spin-off, and that everybody is benefiting, because the governments have got to benefit from taxation, but companies have got to have a business case. If you get the two of those together, even the World Bank is saying we can come in, we can give you power. They're talking about a lot of solar power, and we heard yesterday that Sibanye Gold, wants to use its own power, and it's talking about sun power. So it's very interesting. If a lot of the institutions work together, because there's never one mine. It's always a whole series of companies that are coming in to an area. If they work together, governments work together, and you get world institutions working together, the new generation of mines can do an enormous amount more than what we've experienced, I'm sure. And I think heads are looking for a win-win-win situation, genuinely.
Now, what role can mining play in alleviating the three evils of poverty, unemployment, and inequality?
Those three things, inequality, unemployment, poverty, no matter what minerals minister you get in South Africa, they have many messages and many ideas, but the one thing they all want is to alleviate poverty, unemployment, inequality. All of them sing from that hymn sheet, no matter what their names are. And we've had a series of ministers here that have come in quick succession. But the one message that they always keep, what can mining do to help alleviate poverty, unemployment, inequality? We've also got on the horizon the change to the definition. I think it's through the World Bank and others. No, United Nations is working on a changed definition that should come through toward late next year, or a goal, a poverty alleviation goal. They should have firmed up their poverty alleviation goal before the end of next year. And if councils like the International Council on Mining and Metals can work then with the United Nations, I think that the poverty alleviation through mining in the future could be really profound. And in fact, people are predicting that it will be profound, because all the planets are coming together to try and make sure that this happens. So that's what people want to see. They want to see a country that has its resources, uses its resources, and that you can see a difference. And if World Bank bring in power, that sets off a lot of entrepreneurs immediately, and entrepreneurs can start serving the mines. If they serve the mines, they then are spreading wealth elsewhere, and you can find that the multiplier effect is huge in poverty eradication, unemployment reduction, and all the inequalities that we strive to, the gaps we strive to close. Mining can play this role.
So it's about implementing systems that are sustainable, like water and education, those types of things.
That's the thing. When we have water here, it's thanks to our gold mining tradition. Because if you look around the world, you won't find a big city so far from a river like we have in Johannesburg. The gold was found here. Then they said, where are we going to get the water? And then they saw the Vaal quite a distance away, and they said, gee, how do we beat gravity? So they started, burning coal, raising steam and having the steam pump to get the water up here. Now that came from 1902. And if you look at the purity of that water, many people who've tested the purity say that it's far purer than a lot of the bottled water that we have, in terms of some of the bottled water wants the impurities for the taste, etc. But this is a very good water that we've had, and it's come courtesy of the mines. Now the same thing can happen elsewhere in Africa. You need transport as well, so rail can be involved. There is power that you've just got to have. So what we're really seeing is that mining can be a huge generator of economic activity and wealth, and it can help to alleviate these triple evils of poverty, unemployment, and inequality.
Well, thank you very much for your insight, Martin.
Great pleasure, Shannon.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on South Africa's mining industry.